Hey guys, Miguel from Green Barbershop here, just with another episode of I Must Ask You a Question. We've got Ferdie here from Unison. Just tell us how you started Unison, man.
All right, so I'm Ferdie head trainer at Unison Martial Arts. Unison's been going since 2012.
I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, so we're going on almost 8 years. So basically I started Unison just out of a need to create the culture that I wanted out of training. I was doing subcontracting out to a club that was over on the south side, and I just felt like I just wanted to create an atmosphere that I kind of came up with. When I was training in the beginning and how I came up through and the people I wanted to surround myself with, and that's how Unison started basically, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that long. So when you did first start it out, was there much of, is it basically martial arts in general that you're doing, or is it a particular like jiu-jitsu, or is it something like that?
So I teach two martial arts. I teach Muay Thai kickboxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But when I started back in 2001, and I started off with Kung Fu, and I've been through Kung Fu, Filipino stick fighting, Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do concept stuff, and then I've found my way through the Thai boxing, and then now it's Jiu-Jitsu. Now I just concentrate on the sporting aspects of martial arts. So,
That's cool. I didn't know you did the whole journey of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What did you find interesting about even the other martial arts that I didn't even know you did? So.
Okay, so a little bit of history is I grew up on old 70s Kung Fu movies, so the old chop socky ones where they fly through the air and they kick each other with the old Jet Li style ones. So I grew up on them like 10, 11 years old. And I didn't revisit martial arts until I was in my early 20s. And what happened there was I was in my early 20s and the people I was kicking around with kind of went down a path that I wasn't kind of interested in going. And it is how it is when you're in your early 20s. People around you kind of... Well, what happened was one of my mates died in my early 20s, and I thought, shit, I need to pick up my mental health here. And I wasn't really a team sport player, so I thought I've got to look up something, and I basically just looked through the yellow pages and I found Kung Fu, and I thought, that's it. From my 10, 11-year-old me, was like, yes, that's what I'm going to take up. So I took up Kung Fu, and I haven't stopped since, yeah.
That's crazy. The nostalgia and everything would have been hectic. So this is completely off topic, but what did Bruce Lee do? It wasn't Kung Fu, was it?
Bruce Lee was okay. Yeah, Bruce Lee was Kung Fu, so there's so much stuff out on Bruce. I used to fanboy heaps on Bruce Lee.
Poster?
No. Yeah, I've still got a hanging one at home, a big one in my kitchen, Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee started off in a system called Wing Chun Kung Fu, and he basically found out it wasn't working for him. So he found out, okay, well, Wing Chun is going to be enough, and then he started incorporating stuff like boxing, Western fencing, kickboxing, and all these other martial arts, and create a style that was kind of unique at that time. Nowadays it's MMA, it's everywhere, it's mixed martial arts, but I think back in the 70s it was unheard of. So people say he's the godfather of mixed martial arts, but that's him.
He did sort of help evolve that.
Yeah, basically. So he was doing mixed martial arts back in the 70s. He was blending martial arts, and back in that time it was really hierarchy. Like you either done karate, or you done taekwondo, or you done judo, and you never really cross-train, or people were cross-training, but it wasn't out in the mainstream, and he was the one to really bring it out there and say, look, I'm going to cross-train and there's nothing you guys can do about it, basically.
Was it frowned upon because of culture or history, or like in terms of doing different martial arts?
I think in the Chinese culture back then in the 70s, it was really frowned upon because it was like that was their heritage, and they thought, oh, you're going to be teaching white guys our secret Kung Fu techniques, and so he was kind of frowned upon there.
And at the end of the day, it didn't even work for him, did it?
No, and at the end of the day, it's like it wasn't what he found was going to be the be-all, end-all. He had to end up mixing other martial arts in together, so.
Yeah, so talking about inspiration, obviously Bruce Lee, was it inspiration back then?
Yeah. Well, it's now kind of trickles through, but back then it was like, when I first started Kung Fu, it was like Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Jackie Chan. I loved all that stuff, and even when I was training Kung Fu, I loved it. We had the 3-sectional staff out, the bat and sticks, and all the Kung Fu forms that we used to learn. So yeah, it was a different journey. Like now, because I'm limited on time as you get older, I just don't have the time to train everything. So it's like, okay, I'm on this journey of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Thai boxing, and I've got to focus my time on that and my students.
But not only that, but you'd be good at that, and you can really zone in and become, the best at it, I guess, because now that you found like your little niche, you would say?
Yeah, exactly. You kind of find your own path, and in saying that, like I'm on the path now, I think I've been on it for the last 10 years or so. or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Thai boxing. And who knows, when I get a little bit older, I might move on to another path. But it's kind of like anything else.
Yeah.
Just cruise along.
Who inspires you now? Is there someone that inspires you?
Yeah, I look to coaches because I'm a coach, and that's my strength. Like, people ask me, how many fights you had and what time, and I'm like, man, I'm the coach. Like, I've got to give to you guys so that you guys can learn, and then wherever you guys take it, that's from there. But I get inspired by my coaches, Geordie from Bow Desert, Daniel Lima from Gold Coast, and then I also look to other guys on the internet and the other coaches that, and I look to how they teach their students, the philosophies they use, and everything like that. So that's when people ask me, I'm like, and I get excited about coaching. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Is it the idea that you get to see something little turn into something in terms of your students, or what do you get the kick out of, like, being a coach?
Oh, at the moment, it's the growth. And it's always been the growth, because I get people come in from day dot and they don't know nothing and they're clunky like how I was. They're struggling, and then 6-7 months down this track, they're just kicking ass. So it's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So now with everything going on, you're operating again?
Yeah, we kicked back off for a week now with so post-COVID. So we're rebooting, and I think it's only a couple more weeks until we're all full contact. So at the moment, we've got all these little things that we've got to do to make sure everyone keeps their social distancing and everything like that. So, but yeah.
That's cool then, yeah. So pushing forward, is there any big plans, or what's happening with everything for you?
Oh, I should really be thinking about the stuff as a business owner, but yeah, I've always thought of Unison as something organic. It's kind of got to grow on its own, and the culture's got to grow on its own, and that's what's working for me in the moment. So the people that are coming in just are making more people. So I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like
a ripple effect.
Yeah, like a ripple effect. So I'm getting the same type of people come through, and that like attracts like, and then I'm just getting like good, decent people surrounding me. So yeah.
Unison is sort of your side gig though, isn't it? What's your main occupation?
So I work as a graphic designer during the daytime, which isn't too bad. It pays the bills, and I can't complain. I sit in front of a computer all day and push pixels around the screen. But that's my passion is teaching martial arts.
Yeah. I'm sure Shannon will be watching this, but just as other people, do you think you'll ever hit a point where your side gig or your side hustle will become your main hustle, or you just sort of? I think that would be one of the big questions.
It's so risky. I've thought about it many times in the beginning. I was like, I'm going to work this place, I'm going to get Unison and make it grow, and that's going to be my main gig. And then there's many times over the years, and I'm like, thank God I've got a day job, because it's so up and down, just like any other industry. Like
even with the coronavirus, like you were working through most of that as well. Or you were just sitting at home doing graphic designs while.
No, I was like everyone else. Like, we kind of I just went on the JobKeeper, so I was lucky. It's like, and then I got back my day job, but yeah, it's a risk. It's such a martial arts, for me anyway, is such a niche market, and I think if I was going to make it my day job, it's like, oh man, there's so much you got to put into play. Like, I've got to have like plans and systems in place so that I can attract all these members. But at the moment, it's like I'm just letting it grow organically, but it's getting there. The people that are coming along, it's getting bigger and bigger, so I'm stoked.
Yeah. You watch UFC obviously as well?
I do here and there. I'm not a big follower, to be honest. I watch it when the big names are on, but do I follow every single UFC? No.
Is that one of the questions that people ask you?
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, you're watching this UFC? And I'm like, well, kind of, man. I'm going to hang out with my boys on the weekend and play dad. But I just spend so much time on the mat teaching and coaching. So if I am watching UFC, I'm watching it analytically as well. So everyone's like cheering on. I'm watching it from a coaching aspect. So it's a little bit different for me.
Yeah. If you had to pick or choose between Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's what it's called, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and kickboxing, is there one that you prefer over the other? Or they're sort of...
No, I love it all. I love all the martial arts. One that I think I'll continue to do late into my 60s and 70s would be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. A lot easier on the body, because there's only so much you can punch and kick. Like your hips and everything start to ache. But I think I'll do it even now, I'm starting to take a step back, but I think I'll keep doing it forever until my body fails me. Yeah.
In terms of that, because I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one of those things that are out there a lot, but you don't see it as much because it is sort of it reminds me of a game of chess, the way that it works, but it's so, I wouldn't say the word's underrated, but people just don't know enough about it. Do you find that kind of stuff interesting, especially when you do watch UFC fighters or whoever doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Because I know when I watch it, I'm like, bro, they're just laying on each other. Like, what?
Oh yeah, I mean that's everyone's thing of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'll tell you a story. When I first started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was training down in Brisbane at my old gym, and I was doing kickboxing at the time and Jeet-Kune-Do, Bruce Lee's Jeet-Kune-Do stuff. And the class before the kickboxing was always Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'd walk in and I'd see all these sweaty guys laying on top of each other, and I'd be like, whoa, I don't know about this. There's some erotic stuff going on here. And I just think, no, that's way too much close contact for me. And then it wasn't until I found out I was moving back up to Rocky, and I thought, I'm going to try all these arts that this gym had to offer at the time. And I thought, I'm going to try this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff. It looks a little bit too close to comfort, but I'll try it. And then first lesson I got in there and I was tapping out every 2 minutes, every minute, just tapping out, and I just got my ass kicked, and I thought, shit, I've got to learn this. So yeah, so that's, and after getting my ass kicked, and that's kind of how it all started with each martial art I've done. I was with the Thai boxing as well. My first ever Thai boxing class, because I'd moved down to Brisbane from doing Kung Fu up here, and I was already a blue sash in Kung Fu, which is fun and fantastic. And I was like assistant instructor, and being in your early 20s, when you get some type of rank, it kind of goes to your head a little bit. And in my head I was like, okay, I can hold my own, I'm a high level Kung Fu practitioner. And I got down there, and some lady around about Simone's size, who's one of my kickboxing champions at the moment, probably in the late 30s at the stage, and I'm in my mid 20s, early 20s. And she sent me home with 2 black eyes and a black leg, and I just thought, I just got my ass kicked by some little lady in her mid-late 30s, and she smashed me. And then while I was on the train home down in Brisbane, I was sitting back and I thought, I've got to take this up. I just got smashed. I didn't care about getting smashed by the other bigger blokes, I thought, that's going to happen. But the fact that I got smashed by someone way smaller than me and just sent me home with 2 black eyes and a black leg, I thought, ooh.
That's crazy. I think one of the things that I've seen a little bit more diving into YouTube is smaller people, because, you know, being Filipino, I'm small and stuff, but smaller people doing jiu-jitsu that, let's say, like I've had nothing to do with this, but they get bullied and all that kind of stuff, and then, you know, they push them too much, and then they use Brazilian jiu-jitsu to tap out this freaking ginormous dude to teach them a lesson, like not in an aggressive way, because they know the point where it's too much. I think that's just fascinating in itself, just to see, as the story that you were talking about, someone little be able to do, I wouldn't say damage, but to do that, you know what I mean? I think that's amazing in itself.
Oh yeah, that's the thing with any type of martial arts, even with boxing or kickboxing. If someone has X amount of experience in years in a martial art, and then someone has nothing, it's like, man, you should have trained, because that's what happens with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But the thing with, and I'm starting to really realise it now, as I've been in Jiu-Jitsu for ages, there's a reason why they have age divisions and weight limits, because it's tough. Like, you're a smaller guy, and then someone starts getting close to your experience level, and they outweigh you by 20, 30 kilos. It's a hard day in the office. Like, you just get trounced on. But yeah, but saying that, like, someone that doesn't know anything, and they're bigger than you, it's kind of like, it's a fun game to play.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What would be advice for people that are even thinking about either joining your gym or Unison, or getting into martial arts or anything? What would be advice for them if they're even just looking?
Just give it a go, because the hardest part with martial arts is taking the first class, and it's not always the first class. It's with martial arts in general, especially martial arts, because you don't see results straight away. Like, you don't even get better until probably 3-6 months down the track. And I see it all the time. Like, people come in and they've been doing it 3 weeks, and they look around and everyone's all really quick, and they're popping off all these combos or doing all these slick jiu-jitsu moves, and they're like, oh, I can't keep up with this. But they've got to remember, them guys have been doing that for years, like 2-3 years. So I'd say just come on to your first class and just work at your own pace. Listen to the instructor, think about the technique. Everything else will come together, and immerse yourself if you can. And just immerse yourself in the art, and just stay disciplined. I think coming along and saying, okay, I'm going to train twice a week for the next 3 months, and you're going to get results. But if you come in like once a fortnight, like anything else, like you come in and you don't take it seriously, you're not going to see results. And especially in them 2 martial arts where the feedback is instant, like you're either getting better or you're not. Yeah, you've got to just stay in there and keep working, because I do see the results. I see people come in from nothing. They're struggling putting combinations together, struggling with the terminology, with the movement, 3, 4, 5 months down the track. I'm looking around, and they're just holding their own, so yeah.
Yeah, is there any more inspiring stories along the lines of that? Like, have you seen someone that you're really, not that you would even question it, but you're just like, oh, I don't know how this will turn out, and then beast, like just beast mode, or like...
Oh, I see it all the time, especially with my children in the class, or my kids' classes. Yeah, they're just, that's what I love about the culture at my gym and the people that are coming through, is they're everyday people. Like, you see them on the street and you would not even know that they train martial arts. They don't talk about it really. They just do their own thing, and then they get out on the mat and they're beasts, they're warriors out there, and you're like, holy moly. And I think that comes back to when I was down in Brisbane, and that's what I remember as well, is I was used to catch a train out from Brisbane City and then out to Wynnum out there to where I used to train. And people would be coming in their business attire off the trains or from their cars, and they'd be coming out their business attire, putting their Thai boxing shorts, and then they'd just get out there and start, and you'd be like, what the hell? And then they'd finish the training session an hour and a half later, and they put their business attire back on, go home. You're like, no way, you just don't know who's out there and who's walking the streets. And yeah, it's amazing, especially with the kids, because I get kids that come in, and I can kind of see it because I'm a little bit introverted by nature myself, and they're introverted and they're shy and they're meek, but like a couple months down the track, it's not that they open up on the mat. So when it comes to the go time, that's when they express themselves, and you're like, oh man, I'd hate to be the person that bullies that kid. So
the quiet people, man, you got to watch out.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. And they're just quiet. They're just sitting back and they're observing. They listen. Yeah, they're the ones that get me. It's the ones that sit back and they don't say much, but then I watch them train and they're just working. They're just repping it out, and then they're the ones in 2-3 months that, like, ooh, you got to be careful of, because yeah.
Well, I like a weird quote, but I always feel like people don't plan an attack out loud. It's them quiet ones that you're like, man, we got to be friends, because I don't know what you're thinking about, so we'll be friends because I know something's happening or whatever.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, inspiring them. They're the one. I see it every week in and week out. I see the quiet ones, the hard workers. They just get out there and they shine. They shine out there, out on the mat. Even in the competition arena, like I've seen in the kids Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu arena, and even with Simone, one of my champions, she's just a hard worker. She doesn't talk much, and she gets out there. You shit in the ring, you're like, I'm not going near that lady. So yeah,
that's cool. The only story that I've ever heard about, and this is more with just mixed martial arts or fighting in general.
Yep.
I remember being a bartender at Heritage, like in Rocky here or whatever. Yep. And I think they used to host like a fight night in, I think at that time it was either Stadium or Flamingos, like next door. Yeah.
Republic, yep.
So long story short, all the fighters went to Heritage afterwards because it was just next door, and they're all cool as. They're real laid back. They're having a big night because they've just had their fights, they've trained up all for this. Most of them just are drinking and partying, and they're awesome. They're really cool dudes. And I think I finished at like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock from Heritage. And this was so bizarre because I knew these dudes were fighters because they were Islanders or something like that that had trained in Brisbane, and they come here especially for the fight.
Yep.
So I'm sitting down, just chilling out. I got a feed or whatever, and these fighters are walking down, and they're nice as. So I know they would never cause anything. And there was people behind them trying to fight them. Oh, and in my head, I'm like, bro, these dudes are gonna dust these people, and it's gonna be awesome to watch. Like, I'm gonna be so happy. And it was really, I guess, inspiring in itself because I knew what they were gonna do, but they just palmed them off. They were just for they the whole time like, nah, man, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm like, I don't want anything and all that kind of stuff. In my head, like, bro, you could dust these, but I think at the same time, to know that they can is the difference between like the other people were trying to prove a point, and they would have got dusted, like they would have got wiped with the floor, but the other dudes, they don't have anything to prove. They've already fought, they know what's going on, but that in itself was like inspiring to know, bro, they could have just smashed him, and they literally just kept on walking away, and the other dudes were pestering, and I'm thinking like, that's awesome, like that's just crazy.
The other flip of the coin too is people that are like that, like especially fighters that are in training, they've been training 8 to 12 weeks straight, they're tired, they're hungry. They're in the gym 6 days a week. So, and the guys that are in the gym 6 days a week, that's the last thing they want to be doing. Outside of the gym, they're like, man, I've just been training my ass off. I just finished sparring. I got punched in the face hard last night. So when they go out, that's the last thing they want. Like a lot of the times, the guys that are training all the time, the last thing they want to do is get another fight. They've been fighting all week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So that's the other side of the thing. And exactly what you said, they don't got nothing to prove. They prove it all the time on the mat in the gym. So yeah.
Yeah. So another one, I only touched about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because I think it's awesome. Like just hearing about it is cool. But do you find, because the one thing that I listen to, and I know it doesn't happen much, but have you ever been injured or anything like that? Because that's the one thing when I'm watching all these people tap out. But is it rare? Like
it is fairly rare, and I tell my guys all the time, a lot of the injuries happen in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, not from the submissions. People think, oh, I'm going to go on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and they're going to break my arm or rip my shoulder apart, and it's not really that. It's from accidental weight droppage. And not pairing the guys up the right size limit. So, and what I tell them all the time, say I'm only, say 70 kilos, and if I'm rolling with someone that's 110 kilos, and they accidentally fall on my ribs, they're going to probably do some major damage to my ribs and pop a rib or two. So that's the major injuries that happen there, or when people just accidentally fall, because you think you got some joint locked up and they fall and they lose their balance and they've got that joint. They're the major ones that happen a lot of time. But in terms of submission, not really. But yeah. As long as you get good training partners, it's all about good training partners. And I tell my guys all the time, is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training wise is like all these guys, if you're a kid, all these guys are your favorite toys. You start breaking all your toys, you got nothing to play with. And that's how I see it. It's like you come in there, you're wrestling with everyone. If you're going too hard and you're injuring each other, like no one's going to want to train with you. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So to wrap it up, what's happening in the future? What are you going to see, or what's, if people are following you, what's happening?
What's happening in Unison? We're just continuing to grow. I think the next generation coming up, the kids that are moving that started with me when they were 7, 8 years old, moving on now at the moment, 12, 13, 14, they continue to train. When they hit the adults, that next generation coming up are going to be phenomenal. It's amazing because they're just doing everything second nature. Because they come in and they're like little sponges. They come in and some of them have been training with me now 5, 6 years, and they're still teenagers. And I just think, wow. So if I can, that's my goal at the moment, is for them teenagers to just keep on working hard. And the adults, I'm happy with the adults. The guys that are coming through, we're all the same. We're all everyday workers. They've got to go back to day jobs, family people that look after each other. The culture is really great there. No one's there to prove anything, and it's all about work ethic. So, like, I've got people from all walks of life. I've got people working up as accountants, up at the hospital. I've got people working security guards out of prison, police officers, and we just all got to look after each other. So, that's really it. And I love to say we're going to have all these champions stuff come through, but I don't know. The champions are a special breed. They come through and. My coach always tells me, like, you might have a run where you've got like a stable of 2 or 3 really good guys, and for like 3 or 4 years, and then you won't get anyone come through because they're just a really rare breed to come through with the competitors. That's why when people ask me about the actual people that come through Unison, we're all, I'd say 95% hobbyists. So we do the stuff for fun. We love the culture. We love hanging out. We love learning. And it's the 5% that bring it onto that next competition level. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Not everyone has to be the chief. Not everyone has to.
And it's so much sacrifice.
Yeah, you could just do it, as you said, just as a hobby and love it more because it's no pressure. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's what keeps me going too, because there is no pressure. That's why I love it. One of the parts of being a coach is there's a pressure of being a coach. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, I just tapped out to all my students. My students are kicking my ass. But then I think, well, I'm doing something right, man. Like my guys are getting better than me, and that's what you can ask as a coach. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool then. Well, if you guys want to see more from Ferdie or anything, I'll chuck it up. If you guys want to see him actually open up the gym more, leave abusive comments so he does it, because I know I'm hearing from all my clients saying the same thing. But yeah, I'll chuck up all the social media and just stay tuned. I'll chuck up another episode next week. But thanks heaps for coming through, man.
Awesome.
Hey,
Thanks, Miguel. Awesome. Cheers, man.